Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet, at its core, is a twin-stick shooter with puzzle elements. But that's just what's on the surface. Delve beneath the crust and you will discover a dark and beautiful world full of character and delights that creates an experience that is rarely seen in a video game. After an epic opening cutscene that wouldn't look out of place in a feature animated film, you are placed in control of your ship and set out on your journey into the heart of the insanely twisted Shadow Planet. Armed only with an environment scanner that's used to give descriptions of key items in the world, you set off across the surface of the planet with little idea of where you are going or what's going on. It doesn't take long for you to find your first weapon, as the true hostile nature of the planet is revealed. Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet has an open game world that allows you to return to previous areas and explore hidden new ones. While the game is still primarily linear, not having the game split up by separate levels helps with the sense of immersion. You will spend about half of your time fighting the various enemies that inhabit the planet, and the other half solving an assortment of well-designed puzzles. The combat is kept interesting with the amount of unique enemy types that infest the planet, in combination with your ship's large arsenal of different weapons. The combat is rarely a case of shoot an enemy until it dies. Certain enemies can only be killed in specific ways, meaning that each encounter with a new enemy is a mini puzzle in itself. Fights, however, get really interesting when you're attacked by a combination of different enemy types at the same time, forcing you to be quick switching between your weapons and using your brain as well as your gun. The puzzles are often challenging, but always feel fair and fit into the game world perfectly. You are eased into the game with some simple physics-based puzzles, but they soon escalate in difficulty and complexity as your forever-growing arsenal of weapons allows you to manipulate your environment in increasingly interesting ways. Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet looks great in screenshots, and incredible when seen in motion. While the game is played on a 2D plane, the moving backdrops and occasional 3D moment give the game a sense of depth and scale that is rarely seen in this style of game. All of this is accompanied by a well-considered audio backdrop that uses low hums and slow haunting melodies to set the mood of the game perfectly. Good as the sound is, it would have been nice to have some more striking songs to accompany some of the more dramatic moments. You will feel alone, isolated, and constantly under threat, and it is this that makes Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet such an intense experience. With a straight run through, the game can be easily completed in less than 5 hours, but the game isn't designed to be rushed. It's full of secret areas and collectibles that give you reasons to revisit areas and investigate every dark corner. The exploration does add more game time, although the secret areas are a little too easy to find, as every area of the map you haven't yet visited is clearly marked. You will feel more like you are simply travelling to these areas, rather than discovering them. The rewards also add little incentive, as you will either be collecting mere second-long videos, concept art that simply looks like screenshots of the game, or the only game-changing collectibles, weapon and armour upgrades. The game also features a multiplayer game mode called Lantern Run. The game mode can be played with 1 to 4 players, either locally or over Xbox Live. Lantern Run requires you to run away from a large tentacle creature while carrying a glowing lantern and eliminating any foes that you encounter on your way. The game is scored by the distance you carry your lantern, with bonuses for the amount of enemies you kill. These scores are then posted into an online leaderboard, so you can compare your scores with your friends and players from around the world. This game mode is fast-paced, frantic, and perfect to be played in short bursts. Trying to quickly move a pile of rocks that block your path while the beast slowly moves closer can be a terrifying experience, and playing with your friends adds brilliant replayability to the game. Unfortunately, not everything is perfect with Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet. The dark and moody art style is one of the game's strongest aspects, but one section of the game is so dark you can't even see the sides of the level. This section is obviously intended to be this dark, as it plays directly into the gameplay, but it was still a low point in the overall experience, as struggling to solve some of the game's most complex puzzles in near pitch blackness made me long for the next location. A few other small blemishes, such as sometimes fiddly controls and the camera not displaying your enemies, do sometimes crop up, but they are only small issues and are almost instantly forgotten. It's a shame to end by pointing out some of the game's relatively minor flaws, as Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet is a game that does so much right. The tight shooting mechanics and rewarding puzzles make Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet a good game, but add the beautiful graphics, fluid animations, and dark and moody atmosphere, and you will get the instant classic that the game is. If you have the money and the time to play Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet, then you should.